And I'm putting this up to say we are recording in case somebody can't hear me. So if you're on an iPhone and you haven't put your name in your iPhone, each time you make a little bit of noise with your iPhone, your phone number is going to slap up on the recording. And if it happens a couple times, I can have my nifty difty editor guy take it out. But if it happens a lot, it won't be the end of the world for me, but your phone number will be living on my website. So just so you guys are aware of that. So I don't have a co-host today. So if you go to chat, question for later, what's a refusal line and how do you determine it on obstacles? We're going to be talking about that. I don't have my mic on, but I can hear you. Thanks for that. You guys, if you see an important question come in chat, because I don't have a co-host today, and somebody wants to come in and say, hey, Sandy, there's an important question you might want to address, you can interrupt me, but then remind yourself to mute again. I'm going to type my address in and tell you that we've been having a lot of fun with these. And what I'm doing is I'm doing training topics, handling topics, and eventually I'll be doing some competing topics. So I'm putting my, I'm sending it only to Amy. I want it to be to everyone. Here we go. I'm putting my address in here. There's also, I'm putting my address in here in case you want to go back and watch the pre-recorded versions and you find value in them, or if you find value in what you learned today. I'm typically getting about 20 people. Looks like we'll have a little bit less today. And I'm getting about 3 donations. So I'm offering these for free. I'm trying to build my online presence, and that's cool. But if you do find value, there's 2 ways to donate. Some folks are sending me checks directly to my address that I am posting. And other folks are going on my website and donating there, where that gets a little bit of a share of it. So there's 2 ways to donate, and please, if you're struggling, come and get the value, and don't worry about that end of it. So without further ado, this is a handling and little bit of, I can't talk about anything without talking about training, and I am going to screen share. And we are going to look at the article together. So
could you turn that down?
Sorry? Oh, somebody has their mic on. And now that I'm screen sharing, I don't have as much control. So whoever said, can you turn that down? It's okay, but know that we can hear you. Probably want to mute yourself. So you guys, I wrote this back in 2011, and it's kind of cute that it says 6 ways to handle a 270, because if you add all of the turn cues on planet Earth, there's more than 6 ways. Like if I was doing this again tomorrow, I would call it 6 basic ways. And they really are. There's 6 basic ways. And I love getting a class out every, once a year, say, okay, rattle off those 6 ways right off the top of your head right now. That's where I want students that train with me to get. That when you see a 270 configuration on a course, you can be inside of it, outside of it. I've heard people say, oh, you should never rear cross into a 270. You should never rear cross incorrectly into a 270, but if you set the line appropriately, there's no reason why you can't rear cross a 270. I do it all the time. You can even do 2, and we're going to look at that. So we had one question about the refusal line that is in one of the diagrams, and I actually made another diagram. That refusal line is on number 2. So let's chat a little bit about why you need 6 ways to handle a 270. You guys, it's like learning where to put words in sentences. If you can spot the 270 and then have those choices right at your fingertips, decision making is going to be way easier on course. You're also going to look for a way that you've practiced to fit the course. So you're not going to be in that dilemma that I don't like to be in, that says, that, you know, should I try this? Or I've never really seen this before. I hear that from students and I'm like, no, no, no. That's a classic blah, 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 CERT 270 straight line box. And you didn't get through open and not have ever done it. You're not recognizing it is what it is. I can assure you, you didn't get through open without doing the configurations. But if you can recognize them and practice them. So when I say practice a configuration, you guys, I make my configurations into loops. And another article that I wrote is getting the benefit of repetition training. Some people call it drilling. Dogs don't like drilling. People don't like drilling. Doing repetition training can be quite fun if it's tackled appropriately. So when I'm doing a 270 and I'm handling it one of the 6 ways, I've got a little bit of a loop set up. And what I'm trying to do is absolutely make a carbon copy of what I am looking like and sounding like. So that my dog is learning 270 because she looks and sounds like that. Don't come in because she looks and sounds like that. Come in because she looks and sounds like that. So everything, I'm practicing my voice inflection, what I'm saying, when the dog will hear it. So I feel like if there's something coming out of my mouth, there is something that is the most specific and most relevant for the dog to hear at that time. Do I ever use generics? Go, 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 come on, come on, come on. Yeah, I do, but way, way less, because there's usually something more significant like dig, 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 or polls, polls, instead of go, go, go. Something that's just a little bit more significant. What I'm seeing with my students at an amazing rate is if I can get them to address their arms, even their fingers, you guys, the difference, I've had students stand across a field and when they put their hand up, like the difference between having the hand up in a wimpy way like this and having the fingers actually spread and the palms strong to keep a dog out. And I've got people standing over there and go, what's the difference of the feeling? And it's like, whoa, the first time I'm like, I want to see what this, be a dog for a minute. So with the 270 handling, as I said, as I'm going around, I'm saying whatever I'm saying when the dog is in the information zone. My arm is extended when the dog is taking jump 1, always on a 270. My fingers are up. I've got that Diana Ross in the Supreme Stop in the Name of Love thing going on. And my elbow has power in it. And I'm handling, I'm sounding, I'm handling, and I'm looking. My intention is forward. And I'm the opposite. My demeanor is the opposite of when I want collection. So when I'm handling a 270, my demeanor, when the dog hits the information zone on jump 1, makes the dog knowing it's a 270, not a threadle. That's all I need the dog to know. Do I want you to take that first jump in extension? What makes the second jump a no-brainer? Or do I want you to slow down, collect up, and wrap that stanchion tight? My dog's gonna know well in advance. What most people do when they handle a 270 is they use a generic jump cue on jump 1. Jump. Does not say collection or extension. It's generic. Me thinks by the time the dog is there, pretty much knows that's a jump. Pretty much seen that before. Yeah, that's a jump. How the heck do you want me to take it? You want me to spread out and fly? You want me to collect up and wrap? So I'm rarely saying jump anymore these days, guys. If the jump is a kind of a no-brainer jump in the middle of a sequence, it's not a critical part of a turn, I'm usually saying go on or dig, 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 or my word is tuck, tuck, tuck. So This is what I'm talking about. So when I'm practicing 270s, I'm saying to the dog, I promise you it will look, feel, sound, and be like this when I want you to jump big on jump 2. Whenever I ask you to jump big, that always means that the next logical things is yours. You don't have to wait and keep your eyes on me and think about what's next. If I don't want the 270, if I want to wrap because we're not taking that other second jump at all, or if I want to threadle because you're coming through the middle and we're taking the second jump, I'm going to make a neon sign as you're approaching that jump. So what I'm talking about is if this is jump 1 and this is jump 2, so the 270, this is a funny shaped one, goes out and the dog comes back, this would be the information zone. So I might put a tunnel over here or a couple of other jumps. Don't look at, this is just a different one I'm going to talk about in a second. So just, this doesn't have anything to do with this one. We're just looking at this. So you could make a loop. So when the dog goes over 1 and 2, he goes into a tunnel and comes back out. I like using tunnels because it keeps the momentum going. But you could also have a jump right here that would do the same thing if you've got a small area and just 3 jumps. So what I'm saying is when my dog approaches this jump, I've got the line set to the refusal line. These dotted lines are the refusal lines. And they go forever on everything, all the way around the whole world. I just drew the other ones because they were the ones significant. So these dotted lines are the refusal lines. This jump has 2, 1 here and 1 here. And this jump has 2, 1 here and 1 here. So I'm going to get rid of these because we're not talking about those, but those are refusal lines. They're just not the relevant ones. So when I'm handling jump 1, this is the information zone. My dog arrives in the information zone. If I'm looking at jump 1, I'm going to miss that. If you come away with one thing today, that's the key. I got to watch the grass or the floor or the dirt or whatever my dog is running on. And sometimes the way I learned this, you guys, is I taught myself to imagine like a dinner plate or a base on a baseball game in that dirt or grass. Because what I wanted to see was the dog arriving. Because when the dog arrives at the information zone, that's my cue. My dogs are cueing me. My hand would be up and I would be saying, go on. And I'm cueing the dog to take the refusal line. So if that's hard to wrap your brain around, the other thing that you would do is imagine that there's a jump there. So that when the dog is approaching this jump, you're saying, go on, take this jump, have it. It's all yours. So all I have to do is imagine that dinner plate or that base and that this refusal line is a jump. I consider refusal lines obstacles. I take them as I would take obstacles. I'm taking this jump and then I'm taking, the dog is taking the refusal line and then the dog is taking this jump. So the dog is doing whoa. I'm not going to mess with this too much, but you guys get it. I'd have to change my little, my settings. And then he's coming back. There we go. So not that high. So that's the path of the dog. You guys, once I get the dog, so I'm floating this, I'm paralleling the path of the dog. Once the dog's nose is over that refusal line, this jump is now a no-brainer for the dog. And you don't have to take my word for it. The next time you see a 270, just walk up to this refusal line and turn your head. Just stand on it. And you'll see that this jump is a very logical, no-brainer thing. So I'm telling the dog the information zone is way back here. Let's make it where the line starts. So right here is when I'm start to tell the dog, do not wrap this stanchion. Take this jump in extension. So I'm going to give him not a generic jump cue. I'm going to give him his extension cue. In my world, that's go on. And from the angle, it lines him up perfectly for the refusal line. Once his nose is over that refusal line, I'm done. I'm done handling. That arm can come down. I can start my rotation, and I could be anywhere. And we're going to talk about those placements. I could be here to do a front cross. I could be over here and having done a SERP, because I'm just paralleling. I would make it to about here, no further than the middle of jump 2. And because I'm paralleling, I'm trying to point on the screen, because I'm paralleling with the dog. So this is me now. The cursor is me. The dog is on the line. I'm paralleling the path to the refusal line. He's hit the refusal line now, and I can go do whatever I want, because this jump is now going to become a no-brainer jump. So in this 270, the dog has to travel. I have to keep that arm up and handle him for a full stride, maybe 2 or 3 if he's a tiny dog. If we were going the other way, if this arrow was going the other way, this dog would land pretty much on the refusal line of this jump. So now he's going this way, the way of my cursor. The dog hits this refusal line, and if you stand there, you'll see that's this refusal line is for this jump. You'll see that this jump is a no-brainer. So you could just turn there. I'm going to have you all check your microphones and see who's not muted, because that'll come up on our recording. On this one, if this is exactly 10 feet, the jump from the cross section of the 2 refusal lines, and this is the same. So the distance from 1 to 2 is the same as from 1 to 2 if the dog is going this way. So I would have to have my hand up and work after landing, before landing and during landing, till the dog is to here. Then my job is done. That jump will become a no-brainer with some training. The thing about it is, you guys, you have to be consistent. So when I'm doing loops, if I had my tunnel over here, like I said, I'd set it up about like that, maybe tip this in a little bit. So now I can send my dog exits the tunnel. I'm saying go on. I'm in this area where my cursor is now. And you guys, I don't struggle. I'm going to give you some training tips, but I'm handling confidently with my arm up, and I'm having my body look exactly as it will be in finals at nationals, exactly as it will be when I'm running for my mock. Calm and cool. If the dog doesn't understand that calm and cool, then I'm going to go back to the drawing board and teach. Because if I'm like swashbuckling in there or yelling or flapping my arms, go on, go on, go on, I'm not teaching a specific cue. I'm just doing whatever it takes to get the dog over the next jump. And I'm not perfecting a language or a system of communication. And that's really the beauty and the art of the sport to me. So after I did a bunch of 270s, so I would go over this jump, have my handling, go into the tunnel, try to time everything just the same. He gets his information. If he's a big dog, right here. If he's a little Chihuahua, maybe not till here, but I've got that information zone identified. I'm handling consistency. My path is probably this way and back. This is about where I would be moving. Then guess what I'm going to do after I do 5 or 6 and try really hard to be looking the same place every time, sounding the same way, arm at the same height, fingers at the same width, feet doing the same thing, just nice and precise. Then I'm going to do some threadles. So then when he exits the tunnel, I'm not going to say go on. I'm going to say my dig, 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 or if you're doing in, whatever your threadle cue is. And my arm, both of them, my head, my chin, my head tip, my eyes, my voice, everything then would look, be, sound different. Saying to the dog as he goes, I want you to wrap this. And then if it's a threadal cue, this is the obvious thing. And if I've done a front cross and set the line, it's to this jump. If I've done a pull and set the line, it's to that end. So now I'm telling you how I train. I would have a jump in this configuration and I would turn it into as many things as it could possibly be and just stick with being fluent. So I hope who asked our refusal line understands now the refusal line and why they're so important. If you build value, 270 handling is the best way to build value in a backside. It is a backside, and that's another thing we're going to talk about. But so we'll just go there now. So my $100,000 question is, I like asking this to my other colleagues in the sport. Do you call a 270, the second jump of a 270 a back? Or do you just make it? So you guys, I'm going to tell you, if I was going this way on this particular 270, which I understand that it isn't exactly a 270, I would not say back for this jump because my dog, if I'm coming from this angle, is actually going to be landing over the refusal line. So there is no additional, I'm pointing again, there is no additional backside for the dog to take. He's landing on the backside. So that makes it not a backside. It's the onside now. It's the dog is landing on the onside of the jump. He's not really taking a backside. So if I'm making you scratch your heads, guys, it's okay. This is the stuff, though, that when you, some of you are going, oh, yeah. And some of you are like, yeah, I knew that 10 years ago. And some of you are like, I don't know what the hell she's talking about. So if I'm just planting a seed and you're wondering, do I really have to know this to do agility? You, like I said before, it just depends how much you crave that fluency. It just depends if that's what you're looking for. This is the stuff you're going to want to understand because that's how you get consistent, by understanding it. So, where was I? I lost my train of thought. I can't hear you.
You were saying whether or not it was a backside jumper.
Oh, right, whether it's a backside. So in this case, when it's a clear, or even if this jump was in a little bit more and my dog is landing technically on the onside of that jump, I'm not going to use my backside command. And in this case, because I have told my dog to jump in extension and the refusal line is the next logical thing to take, I personally am not currently, nor have I ever used a backside command for a configuration of a 270 because I have set the line to the refusal line. And because I'm so consistent with this cueing in the information zone as to whether or not I want the dog to take that bar in extension, or I want him to wrap it, or I want him to surf the next thing. But you would never be wrong if you did. You would never be wrong if you called the second jump back, back, back. And that is because the definition of a backside is the dog takes the refusal line and then the bar. When opposed to a wrap, the dog is taking the bar and then the refusal line of the same jump. So when the dog wraps, it's bar to immediate refusal line. When the dog is taking a backside, it's refusal line to bar. It's refusal line to bar. It's refusal line to bar. Okay? So you would not be wrong to use your back command. And then we could talk for an hour about when things are necessary and when they aren't. So let's go back to, so I've just talked a lot about the article where this is, you know, about how to read that 270. Is it larger than the classic? Is it evenly spaced? And how critical that distance to the refusal line is. If you just remember when your dog takes the first jump of the 270, that you're working, you're telling the dog, you're helping the dog get to the refusal line of the next jump. That is your job. Bar, refusal line. Then the next bar is just you're gonna get that for the given. It's gonna be in the dog's path. Your job is to deliver that dog out to the refusal line. And when you start focusing visually on that refusal line, instead of, that's what happens, guys, is everybody focuses on the first jump. This is the classic error for a novice handler. They forget about the information zone and they just use a generic jump. So the dog isn't taking that first bar in full extension knowing he doesn't have a wrap. He's taking it in medium. I'm going to have to figure out what she wants next. And then, to be honest with you, whether they stay out or come in is the dog's personal preference, his size, and how much momentum he had going into the 270. So it ends up being a luck thing. So what if you just work to that refusal line, again, the second bar will become a no-brainer. Okay, so now teaching the 270, you'll see, I don't know in this diagram if you can see this little, there's a little green man, me, next to the little black man, you. So I used to love to teach this because, teach this way, because I could throw the toy, and the first time I would throw it there, and then we would bring the dog around, and the next time I'm a good throw. If you're not, this is troublesome, right? So I'm throwing the toy, throwing the toy, throwing the toy. So what I like about this is I can attach my shoulder to the other person and they can feel the timing and the rotation of the pull as well. The trouble is, well, now that I guess the trouble's COVID, you can't socially distance train this way. Now, you guys, so that's, I put that in there, but I realize it's not practical for the average bear. If you're struggling with it, it's a place for you to go, though, with somebody already in your circle. So now you can also do the rotation and throw the toy a little further each time. But what I'm doing that I've been talking about in these chat sessions is I've been using mark tubs or mark buckets. And I just, with my puppies, I love using marks because it teaches them impulse control. It teaches them excitement. It teaches them to hang out and stay put while they're in their little fun Rin Tin Tin. And it's just a rubber feed bowl and they put their feet on it. So now I'm using those with very novice dogs where I just put their little mark bucket out and I can have 1, 2, or even 3, one on this side of the jump, and I just send them out to their marks. And it's real simple. And then I'll take one of them away and just send them to one mark and then let them end on another. And then I'll just have the third one here and they'll go out and around. The other way to teach it is to just have the 180 and you have your jumps. Let me go back here for just a second. Cancel. So you take this jump and you make it a 180 and you work your 180 and you can have the jumps closer together and you just teach the dog to go back and forth on your 180 and then you slowly make your 180 bigger and then you start angling this jump and you keep that wing below that refusal line. And see, you just start turning it and then you turn it. You do a few, you guys, I don't bore dogs. I go just as fast as I can. And then when they struggle, I slow up or go back. But if they're getting it, I'll go just as fast. This relies on patterning, which is a good thing. The reason I would rather use the marks or the tossed reinforcement is sometimes you'll get a dog that's like, they got it, and then they don't. So you go, okay, I'll go back a step. I taught it this way for years. But what I found was there were just a few too many dogs that would be like, got it. And I'd go that next step and they'd like, oh, I don't got it. And then I'd go back and they'd like, I got it. And it was almost like I was training them. It became a problem because I would go back and it just kept breaking at the same point. Is that every dog? No, not at all. This is I have taught this way very successfully. So what I'm teaching you today isn't so much how to train it. There's 3 or 4 ideas, and the one that you should pick is the one that resonates how you communicate when you're training. Are you more of a morpher, where you have something look like something they know and then you morph it into the thing you want? Or are you more of a planting reinforcement? Lots of people can't train with planted reinforcement because they don't have enough control over reinforcement. The dog doesn't bring it back. The dog runs around and steals it, and then they get in trouble, which they shouldn't. And that's another reason why I'm really enjoying working with Mark Tubbs to get distance, because you don't just get distance, but you get to keep control and excitement, and it's fun and it's easy. It's fun and it's easy. So that's that on training. The pull, this is again identifying that refusal line. This is what we just did. So this is noticing that the distance from where the dog lands to that refusal line is a lot shorter than the distance from where this dog lands going in this direction to the refusal line. And then this is, again, I've already talked extensively about this, where your job is to get the dog to the refusal line. You have to physically yourself go out the next time you see a 270 and put yourself on that line to see that jump. And you'll see, because right now it's like, well, that doesn't look like a no-brainer to me. He's there. What keeps him from whatever? You'll see if you put yourself there and turn your head. It's like, oh, that's the next logical thing for me. So the pull, how far you go into that pocket is where you're going next. So using real estate in 270s is not an either or, but when. So when do you go into that pocket? Like if you're going to rear cross a jump over here, going into that pocket and just traveling with the dog, using the real estate of the pocket can be very beneficial. If you're front crossing, meaning you've got a side change, a pull, the dog stays on the same side. There's no side change. And a lot of times we use pulls to keep the dog with us and to get behind for a rear cross. So your question when you're making a decision on handling the 270 with a pull is how far to go into that pocket. All right, let's go to front cross on the takeoff side of the second jump of the 270. So this is, for me, this is box work. So a 270 is one corner of a box.
But I am not getting the video.
So somebody's got a video problem. We can hear you. And you've got a video camera at the bottom of your screen. I'm not going to spend too much time, but I am going to ask you to mute yourself as you figure it out. And I hope you get it. Somebody might be able to instant message you at the bottom and help you. I don't know. So this is a classic box, and a lot of folks will get confused as to whether or not to put that front cross. So you guys, the 270 is the red and the blue jump. The red jump is jump 1 of the 270, and the blue jump is jump 2. And the red line is the dog's line, and the blue line is the handler. So the handler is going to be on this side of the dog's path before the dog gets to this jump. So that could mean that this handler, if this is you, this could be a Chihuahua, this could be the fastest Border Collie that ever lived. So the handler may have sent the dog to the tunnel from up here and is working that jump on the way, and that could be quite easy for the handler, any handler. It could be easy for a handler that can't run with a fast Border Collie if they send the dog to 1. People are always saying, well, I couldn't get there. Well, if you started there, you'd be there. So that just depends on how much distance skills you have trained. So if I could not be on this side of this red path before the dog got to the jump, I would rethink the decision. If I could not be on this side, as it shows, of this path, the same as I just said. By the time the dog touched 1 foot on landing, I would not do that move. It wouldn't work because as I'm running over here, I'm going to push the dog wide. I would have to do a different hand. That's how I would determine which of the 6 to use. And I would only be putting the front cross on the outside if this jump was here or somewhere more north. If that 4 wasn't there and I was going to 5, I would put definitely, if 4 did not exist and it went 3, 5, I would put the front cross where it is now. If 4 was down here, I would put the front cross on the landing side. And this is box work handling. These are rules of box work that come from work that Greg Darrett teaches. So where you rotate on the bar determines the angle of so if you rotate closer to this wing, you're going to set that line. This handler kept the dog on their left hand longer and rotated over here and set that line. So when I'm practicing these, I used to take a poker chip and I'd put the poker chip right where my cursor is and I'd turn there and get a slice jump. And then I do it a little later, the front cross. I put a poker chip here and I would take my dog's nose to the poker chip there and turn and have him jump the bar like this. So what you guys are going to learn is how to get your dog's tummy over a bar at any angle you want to set the next line. Front cross on the land. So that was front cross on takeoff side of 2. This is going to be front cross on the landing side. And that's when your box, when you're coming to straight across the box, you're not going to this side of the box. So again, jump 2 is jump 1 of the 270, the red jump, and the blue jump is jump 2 of the 270. It's jump 3 of the sequence. So my dog is going up and down again. And I'm going to be on this side of this path before the dog hits the refusal line of blue. So see that dog, if there was a line right there, that dog is his nose. So you guys, when you're handling the 270, you can't be looking at this jump. You can't look at obstacles. You gotta look at grass. You gotta look at dirt, because it's when your dog is there that you can't just pull your arm down and turn and run. You've got to have your upper body supporting the dog, maybe 1 more stride till he gets good at it. With Tuxedo, once his nose hits the refusal line, I can do whatever I want and he's going to take that bar. But that's training and it's practicing in a real consistent way. But as you're learning, you can start your rotation when the dog is there, but you better keep your upper body, your laser beam on your chest and your eyes, and keep a strong connection with the dog till he's all the way to here. I'm still staying connected to the dog through everything. We're at 4:43, and I'm gonna keep going through these for about another 5 minutes, and I'm hoping you guys are making some questions as I'm talking, because we'll go back. So the rear cross all depends on, again, that refusal line. Whoops. Of 2. So the refusal line of 2 would go right here. I can't make the dots. So all I have to do on my rear cross is to set the dog up to travel to that refusal line. And then it would be a rear cross pull combination. So as I rear the dog, it would turn into a pull. My Feet First program, we're having that again in August through Clean Run. And it talks a lot about turn cue combinations. When you're going, you finish one cue and you use your body to go directly into another cue. This is a double rear. So on this rear cross, the handler is going to end up on landing side of 2. Meaning jump 2 of the serpentine, or the 270, sorry. Blue jump is jump 2 of the 270. This handler has rear crossed the red jump, which is jump 1 of the 270, and now has rear crossed jump 2 with the blue jump of the 270 so that he can have that jump on his right. This one scenario, the dog will end up on his left. Okay. So you have the article, you can study the diagrams. So this is a 270 handled as a SERP. I got to talk a minute here because you guys, one of the things about the sport that is wrong is that we have a maneuver and a configuration named the same darn thing. And there's 2 of them. It's a threadle and a SERP. There's a threadle maneuver that can be done in places where it's not actually a threadle. Now, whether that's right or wrong is a whole nother kettle of fish. And you can SERP an obstacle, a SERP maneuver, when something is not by definition an actual serpentine configuration. And so there's configurations called serpentines, there's configurations, and there's a handling maneuver called serpentine. In this case, in this diagram number 10, this is a 270. That's what the article is about. So that's what I'm supposed to be talking about. But if the handler had an obstacle like in number 4, so you can tell that all of these 6 ways are determined by where you're going next, which is how the article started. So this dog's coming out of the tunnel. The handler has told the dog on it, as the dog is going into the tunnel, what to do. It's go on jump, because it's a logical jump and a logical pass. So the dog was told when he went in what he should be doing, looking for a jump. When he comes out, that's the handler only has to parallel the path a tiny bit. The handler has stayed connected until what? The dog's nose hits the refusal line of 3. My gosh, you guys, if you remember that, if you remember that you're working the refusal line of the second jump of the 270, if you can do it, remember it and do it, that's all 270 handling is getting that dog out to that stinking refusal line. Then you're making your move so that you're here. Now this handler is rotating for SERP, and I do not rotate on SERP. So and I never have. So this is a typo. That would be what I would do if I was front crossing to go back to the tunnel, or if I was threadling not threadling. The dog would have to be taking the jump this way, threadling. If I was front crossing to go back is the only option there. So this little guy's turned facing the dog. I would not be. I would be facing that way. I can't make that cursor. I would be just like this guy is. So we could make this guy right here, and then he's SERPing. So now you have to ask yourself, is this a 270 just to any old jump, or is this configuration, red, blue, black, a serpentine? It is. It is actually a serpentine. So it's handled as a 270 SERP is what I'm calling it in the article, but it's also a serpentine handling. Out over that jump, in over this jump, out over that jump. And a double front cross would work. You could come out front cross here, keep moving and put another front cross, or blind cross, side change. 2 side changes could work. If I lost you on that, what I just said about the identifying a serpentine can be identified because it would also be a double front cross, ask your instructor the next time you say, Sandy said something about a SERP can also always be a double front, or a double front you should always look and see if there's a SERP available. Your instructor can explain it, or I can at another time. That's one of those things that's just a fact. Another SERP on the second jump. So this is just so on this serpentine, and this is another one of those things, guys, because I don't want to run out of, we might go 5 minutes over. I'm just going to say this quick, and then we'll have the recording. You can go back. This is what I call a classic SERP, because the takeoff side of the last SERP jump is on the landing side of this jump, of the second SERP jump. On this one, the takeoff side of the second SERP jump is on the takeoff side of jump 2. So I would not be on landing side of 2. It's just called 3 because of the sequence, gang. I would be on this side of this refusal line to show the dog that the on-course obstacle is on this side of this jump, not this side of this jump. And if you missed my 4 quadrants lecture, that's what this was all about, being in the quadrant of the obstacle that the dog is on next. Serpentine jump 1, that's my teachers call it the crazy Sandy Rogers mixed up way. This one, you would only use this. No, I shouldn't say that. This is a little hard, you guys, because if you're just running around the outside of it, that's it. It's simple. The explanation is simple. You're just running around the whole box. But if you don't get, this is the refusal line of the jump. If you don't get over that refusal line where this handler is working this dog, and this handler is working this dog. If you don't get out there over this line at the right time, you're going to push the dog through the middle and you're going to get an off course. So you have to, I kind of twist my shoulders and bow up a little bit here, and you got to have that right arm down because you're saying stick with me, come close. So this is just running around the outside. I've sent the dog to the tunnel and I'm running around because my next on course obstacle is up here somewhere. Okay. All right. 270 handling teaches you how to get religion about keeping your dog out. And all of these maneuvers are classic maneuvers on many places on course. So if you're doing a venue that doesn't do too many 270s, don't let that stop you from training. I know some venues do more than others. I should have stopped screen sharing and I've got you all back on. Do I have any questions? Any questions about 270s? Tell me if it was tell me if it was confusing. Tell me if you think you can go back. You can just unmute yourselves and talk to me a little bit about, do you feel inspired? Do you feel overwhelmed? Did it make sense? Do you want to ask me, do I really have to understand all that? Or now I understand about, because if you got about understanding where to look on that refusal line, and that's easier said than done. So when you're training with your dog, you're going to go, oh, I was looking at the jump. 9 times out of 10, if the dog goes wrong, ask yourself, look down at your feet. Where are my feet pointing? And where was I looking? Was I focused on that information zone when it comes to jump 1 and the refusal line when it comes to jump 2, no matter what of the turn cues you're using? Questions for me? You want to turn on your camera so we can see each other? Hello, hello.
Hey, Sandy, I have a question.
Hi, Gwen.
Hello. So you're talking a lot about the information zone to jump 1, but you really haven't talked too much about the information zone to jump 2. Would you please discuss where you consider the information zone to jump 2 be, please?
The refusal line is the information zone.
That's what I was assuming, but thought I would clarify.
Yeah, that's a really, really, really good question. And that's what makes it so easy, because in everywhere else, you guys, the information zone changes by the momentum and the course. Like the information zone on an obstacle on the corner of a course is going to be later than the information zone on a jump after a table where the dog is on a down or completely still. So your information zone on every obstacle and every course is specific to that dog and that dog's strengths and weaknesses as your team member. But on a 270, oh, it's so easy. It's so easy. And when do you rotate on a forced front on a lead out? As soon as the dog's nose is at the information zone, the new side of the jump is in play just by virtue of the dog arriving there. Nose leather to refusal line. And you'll start seeing more and more places. And then you can just relax. You don't have to be like, that's why people don't like lead out pivots, because there's all this patience required. And so you're being patient. And then but once you learn about the refusal line, you're just like, yeah, just stand here, nose hits refusal line, make my move. And there's never there's never that now, when do I turn? It's just wait for the nose at the refusal line, turn. And you can take that to the bank. Anybody else? Anybody wonder what I'm talking about, the information zone? Just a place in the grass that you imagine that your dog would like to get the information. When somebody's driving with you in the car and they give you those perfect driving directions, they don't talk for 10 minutes about when the turn is, 5 miles before it, and they don't say turn now. They say at the next light you're going to make a left at the McDonald's. So if you don't have a question, tell me if it was helpful. Tell me if one of them looks hard or easy. Did you understand about the poker chip on the takeoff side of jump 2? Putting that front cross in a different place. So the poker chip is for you, not the dog. And you put it in one place and turn. Dog is staying on your left, and then you turn to get him to take the bar at an angle. Turn a little bit later, he takes the bar at a different angle. Keep him on your left, turn a little bit later, takes the bar on a different angle. Those are just fun drills to practice. All right.
Sandy, this is Amy. I have a question.
Okay,
So
good.
you've given us a lot of options, and I'm thinking that the options that you would choose are dependent on what's coming next. Is there another reason that you choose one option over another?
When it comes to a front, yeah, and that is the primary. You got it right. That is the primary purpose. So I have in my world what I call first choice handling and second choice handling. If I can't do my first choice handling well, I will look for second choice handling and see how appealing or unappealing that is. So where the next obstacle is may warrant that the best move, my first choice would be a front cross on takeoff side, for example, or a front cross on landing. But if I'm coming from somewhere that would prohibit me, I ran a little dog once that late in her career developed a fear of the teeter. It was very late in her career, a long story, I could make you cry. But so I cut her a deal. I'm like, okay, I'll stay by you on the teeter for the rest of your career. You got it. I'm in. I'll never, ever leave you on a teeter again. We cut a deal. So therefore, if I wanted to do a front cross on takeoff side of jump 2 on a 270 and the teeter was 2 obstacles before that, I was probably going to have to come up with another choice, you guys. That's why I need 6. Yeah, 1 is always first choice. Like, oh yeah, if I could make that happen, I'll have the rest, that next sequence, rocks. And sometimes you guys, you got to do something really gnarly on one sequence to make the next sequence like 20 times easier, right? Like I'll see people avoid something because it's going to be a little bit hard, but it's the next part's going to be twice as hard as it had to be if you can't get on that side, right? It's all about getting on the side that makes the next bit easier. So then it's just gambling. Yeah. So yes, if I can get there for first choice handling would also be a determination. And so you guys, I think you maybe can tell by that, I have a system when I'm making decisions for walkthroughs. I know the 6 ways that me and my dog are good at it. And then from there, I go with where can I do it? Can I physically be there? And how much do I have to physically be there? And, if the rear cross will work just as well and I'm going to be okay for the next sequence, I am not the person that has to do front crosses just for the sake of front crosses. I hate jamming in front of dogs. It's a strong word. Sorry. But I almost do. It's just that cutting them off and seeing the dogs go, whoa, whoa. And then a lot of those dogs will never run as fast as they can because they don't trust that handler's not going to throw themselves on the train tracks. So one of the deals I have with my dogs is, if you run as fast as you can, I'll stay the heck out of your way. So I don't take a lot of chances. My front crosses, I have to be well ahead. I have to know that my front cross is going to create an opportunity for acceleration, not just make it. You know, somebody will do a crappy front cross and barely make it, and the dog has to rear back, and everybody, yeah, they made it, woo! And I'm like, poor dog. You know, the dog would have preferred a rear cross in that case. So I like to consider myself a polite handler. I do the polite thing for my dog. Might not be the flashiest, and I love rear crosses. Question? Going once? Going twice? You've got the article. You know how to reach me. If you got value from it, you guys, it doesn't matter if it's 5 or 10 or the suggested donation is 25 for an hour, but lots of people do 10, and I'm thrilled and grateful. There is a donation. My address is on the chat, and there's also a donation on my website. My business is acedogsports.com. And very soon, some of you've heard this for a few weeks, because we are editing the others, all of them. This is number 8, I think, number 8 study group. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.